Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Tim Bolin. I'm a crisis management consultant in the healthcare industry. As Clinton Miller said, I'm the best. Hulda Clark. Hulda Clark has been my client since 1999 because there is no one in North America attacked more than this woman. And in a few minutes, you're going to hear why. Talk about practical science, you have it. Talk about a practical person, that's exactly what she is. Raised as a Mennonite in Canada in a world of helping each other. That explains a lot about Hulda Clark. It explains also why she drives an old Ford. Unfortunately, she had to hire me in 1999 to get her out of some trouble when they attempted to, they arrested her and held her in jail for 16 days and hauled her across the country in her bathrobe in the back seat of a patrol car from Indiana and put her on trial supposedly for practicing medicine without a license 6.5 years earlier from a warrant that magically appeared one day in the FBI system after 6.5 years. And how did that happen? Well, we went and took care of that little project right there, and all the charges were dropped. The media happened to be very much on our side because even then, alternative medicine had a tremendous impact on America. In 1998, the Wheeler report said that 46% of all of the U.S. health dollar was spent on alternatives to conventional health care in 1998. In 1999, it went over 50%. Something important happened then. The pharmaceutical industry en masse went to the FDA and asked to be able to advertise directly to the public, and that's why you see the ads on television, because of this movement. And we don't advertise on television. This is a citizens' movement. Why? Because healthcare in this country, conventional healthcare in this country, sucks. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Too often people find out the hard way when they take their loved one somewhere for cancer. And they find out that the conventional system simply does not work and that that relative dies horribly, horribly. And in the end, somebody's trying to get you to sell your house to pay for even more of the horror. Many people have tried to solve the cancer problem, the AIDS problem, the heart disease problem. Right now, the #1 killer of Americans is the conventional medical system itself. 790,000 people die annually within the system, and it's okay. California just passed some regulations to change that and to fix that, and the hospital system in California has got to be on thin ice. But the underground healthcare movement in this country, it should not be underground, but it is. I'll be speaking tomorrow afternoon. We're going to reschedule a certain time. I'm going to ask somebody to trade with me because I got to get on a plane, Dr. Clark and I, to go back. I'll tell you a little bit more about the politics of healthcare if you're interested, because I'm a recognized expert on the politics of healthcare in North America. It's not a good thing. What's good is this. What's happening all around America are meetings like this. It's changing. One of the people, only about this tall, and a nice lady is Hulda Clark, that's leading this movement, and she never intended to be a leader. She came to this movement with the intention of, you know what, something's radically wrong with the offering. The approach is wrong. And she said, we need to find the cause of these diseases, not treat them. And everybody knows that there's a big difference between a cure and a treatment. When I first took on Hulda Clark as a client, I went, oh my God, this woman, title of her books are The Cure for This and The Cure for That. I don't know what I'm going to do. For her next book, I explained that to her, and she said, you know what, Tim, I'm using the scientific method here, so I'm going to put in the front of my book what I mean by cure, the scientific definition of the word cure. What does that mean? Well, I'm not going to go on and on and on and on. I'm going to give you Hulda Clark. Hulda Clark, please.
Jim. I'm happy I've got you beside me. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for coming. It's a thrill to talk to people who are interested in the subject matter that you're interested in, and it's a blessing. It wasn't always this way. So I want to thank, first of all, the establishment here, who has organized these conferences, and I'm thankful to Bill Gates for making the computer age come into existence so that we can communicate with each other. I think that has been an important force in gathering the alternative people together. And with that, I think we will win the battle against medicine. We need medicine, but we don't need it for everything. And we don't need it as a competitive force against preventing disease. We need to prevent disease. And in fact, the first thing I want to tell you is that I'm here to discuss a new concept, the concept of health. I don't want to talk about disease today. You're used to hearing me talk about cancer specifically, because that's what I've been focused on for 15 years, 15 to 20. And I have found the cause of cancer quite by accident, and that of course leads to a cure. Even though there's more than one way to achieve something, and there's always room for clinical treatment when that is necessary. But if you can prevent cancer, that's what I'm all about. And now, by some strange fortune, I have come across the cause of lack of health. It's a new concept for me, although it started maybe 25 years ago when my neighbor at the institution where I was a researcher, Indiana University, my neighbor was a mouse worker. He worked with mice. As a matter of fact, he was doing a vitamin C project at the time, although it was not called that. It was called L-ascorbic acid, because the use of the term vitamin was taboo. I asked him how to raise mice, because I wanted to do a little mouse experiment. And he said, "Come and look at my mice." He had them in drawers of chests. So colonies of around 2 dozen or 3 dozen would be in one chest drawer. And he says, "I'm always having difficulty, because unless I can keep them well, I can't do my experiment." I said, "Well, how do you know they're well or not well?" And that's what pertains to us. We all think we're well until we're ill, and we're not, because we can't identify wellness. We don't have a criterion. I asked him what was his criterion for mouse wellness, so that when he was doing his experiments, and needing a control, of course, he had a good control, namely well mice. He said, as soon as one sneezes, the whole colony has to go out. I said, "Does sneezing mean they caught a cold?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, what's so wrong with a cold?" He said, he doesn't know, but the mouse isn't well. And if he confuses that with healthy mice, then he's not going to get correct data. I said, "Well, how can you prevent that?" He said he can't, but part of his project, namely a vitamin C project, was oriented to that problem of not catching colds. He said, "I'm planning on taking all my mice out to the nearby village close to the city where we were working at, so that they would be isolated. He said as soon as he hears a mouse sneeze or a cough, the whole colony in that drawer has to be thrown out. And that stayed in my memory all this time, and now I know why all that happens. And if you remember that little incident, you'll see why too, as I tell you what the new concept is. It derived from my research on cancer, and I find that although I can easily cure the cancer, I can't cure the patient's illness necessarily. They may have a huge watery accumulation somewhere that I can cure. They may have a chronic headache that I can cure. They may have other, not exactly strange to us, but unusual symptoms, often associated with cancer. You know them probably as well as I do. And that is curable. We can cure that in less than 2 weeks. But then the person isn't necessarily well. They're still fatigued. They can't get their energy up. And I don't know if that constitutes, if that's part of wellness or not, but when you hear what cures it, you'll get some of your own ideas, because I think that you can implement this. You can do this on your own. The unwellness, lack of wellness, often has pain as part of it. Often has chronic coughing, but it's not the symptoms of a cold necessarily. But they don't have energy, and it's an undefined set of symptoms. It's what I call lack of wellness, because I know what is causing it now, and I haven't found a suitable name for it yet.